Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Album Spotlight, the show where every week I put the spotlight on a new progressive rock album that I recommend to you guys. If you like the same kind of music that I do, I think these are albums that you'll enjoy that are coming out. This is one of my favorite things to do on the channel, is to recommend new music, because in my opinion, the music that comes out now is just as good as the classics. If you give it a shot, if you try it out, there's a lot of great stuff to behold that gets forgotten and falls through the cracks and maybe is lesser known. But I want to bring a spotlight to it and let you guys know that it exists. And today I have an interesting one that's maybe a little bit different than the typical album I tend to review here. This is TesseracT's new album, War of Being. This is one that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention because it's been captivating me as I've been listening through to it, even though it's a little bit on the heavier end of what I usually would listen to. I'm not one who really enjoys the screaming, growling style vocals or super heavy, gent style riffs and things like that. Not really my typical lane of what I enjoy in progressive music, but I've been trying to expand my mind a little bit, and I've been trying to be open-minded to certain types of music that I typically don't enjoy so much. So that's been one of the products of the YouTube channel, being part of this group with my fellow YouTube friends who recommend music as well. It's expanded my mind and expanded my taste, and I'm hoping that I can do that a little bit with you guys here on the channel. So, TesseracT are a progressive metal band from England that began in 2003. Their current lineup is Dan Tompkins on vocals, Aisley Caney on guitars, James Monteith on guitars, Jay Postonas on drums, and Amos Williams on bass and vocals. Their previous album to this one was 5 years ago, called Sonder, in 2018. In the meantime, they've released a live album called Portals, which took a lot of their tracks from throughout the years and put it in this really cinematic, interesting package. Definitely a great release to check out. But this new studio album is War of Being, and the band are known for their odd time signatures, musical complexity. They're more than just a tech metal band. They embrace their experimental side with some prog sensibilities, without excessive indulgence or pretentiousness. They deliver atmospheric, metallic songs that stir your emotions and evoke powerful mental images, and I think this is an accurate description of what they do here. This is a very cinematic album with a really big, massive scope and a thick wall of sound, and I like the blend between these parts of brutal intensity with this majestic, otherworldly beauty to it as well. This is a concept album where the songs are all connected one to the next. The last couple minutes of each track tends to be this more atmospheric sonic bridge that leads you to the next section and next part of the story. This was based on a story by bassist Amos Williams, which is being developed into a novel, and it's accompanied by an immersive video game by Dan Tompkins. So their sound is really fascinating to me because it's not just the heavy, brutal, hit you over the head with, you know, dark guitars and things. It really revolves around some clean groove sounds, grooving guitars, funkier slap bass that gives a smoothness to the music that I don't hear much in other prog metal bands. It contrasts well with some of these heavier, genty riffs that they do at times as well. So that's, to me, the band. They're a band of balance between these more slicker, lighter type moments with good grooves and cool bass work, and lighter, beautiful, ethereal vocals, and then these really heavy, brutal, intense sections when the music demands it, and when it's a darker subject, you get that side of the band too. It's a really fascinating musical palette that they play with, and this album to me is the pinnacle of their achievements in being able to develop this in a way that's really balanced. It gives you quite the ride and experience all the way through. Natural Disaster starts off with a heavy burst with some harsh vocals, big walls of sound with lots of intensity, but 4 minutes in you get that switch up to something more atmospheric and more angelic vocals in the mix. Dan Tompkins is another level vocalist and just has such a great style to him. He could do the heavy and harsh stuff very well, but he can also have this almost pop style vocal as well, almost influenced by something like Michael Jackson. Just really smooth, really well constructed, great harmonies on the vocals as well. It just is a really pleasing sound at times, which contrasts well with that heavier, harsher tone that he does. Echoes has a good groove and starts with smooth, clean vocals before it comes with a more rocking, intense chorus. Once again, a great balance between lighter atmospheric sections and heavier intensity, and you get those atmospheric, lighter moments in the last few minutes leading into The Grave, which comes in pretty heavy with some intense screaming vocals and a strong djent style flavor, giving way to a funky bass line and sometimes some more poppier vocals. So once again, they're balancing between these styles and sounds, this heavier metal approach and this lighter, funky undertone that they like to infuse into their music, which is really fascinating. Legion is a great display for Dan Tompkins' vocals. You get those clean, beautiful, poppier vocals, but also halfway through those growling style, and he does this growl that's just next level in the halfway point of the track. Some really cool angular guitars and harder sounds, but it's a really great track that showcases all the band's about. And I think Tinder is a great respite from this intensity of Legion with a more lighter atmospheric feel and a majestic build with wonderful clean vocals before, of course, the intensity builds once again and you get harsher vocals in the end of the track. War of Being is the big centerpiece of the album. This is where you get a lot of that cinematic feel, some intense sounds, some blasts and screaming vocals, heavy djent riffs, and an unsettling atmosphere in the background. There's some funky bass riffs and atmospherics that come more in a laid-back style before that heaviness reemerges. You get a cool Tool-style groove featuring some great vocal hooks, morphing between these powerful cleans and intense harshness. It's a great track and showcases the band's ability to just take you on a journey. They're a band that has somewhat unconventional song structures. They don't have your typical verse chorus type feel. You know, they go through a journey. They sometimes don't have things that repeat very often. They're just morphing and changing and moving to the next section. And I think War of Being really does that in a fascinating way to give you that feel that you're on a journey, that you're experiencing this story as you're going along with the characters and feeling these emotions. Sirens starts with an almost electronica-style drum beat and poppier style vocals. Good breather track with lighter atmosphere and cleaner vocals. A really, really nice track. And Burden is also really great. Some slick slap bass and vocal chants start this one with a killer groove. Almost has a Leprous style quality to it, in my opinion. It's a highlight for me of the album. I think this is done really well in balancing their style, and it has a great clean sound to it for most of the track with incredible vocal hooks. Just the right addition of some intensity to give it an edge and to make it not just one of those standard ballads, but it's a beautiful track leading into the final track, Sacrifice, which is almost 10 minutes long. Dreamy atmospherics and programmed drums lay the foundation, adding those great vocals on top. Then you get the addition of the real drums coming in, building intensity, thick walls of sound. I like this break in the middle that really focuses on some pleasing slap bass grooves, and it ends fittingly with some atmospherics fading away as you are leaving this world, this sound. It's a really pleasant ending, and it's just a whole great journey of an album. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was great, even though, like I said, I'm not into the heavier styles typically, but I felt like it was balanced well here, where it didn't feel so overwhelmingly intense. When I started to feel a little bit overwhelmed, they pull back a little bit and do something a little bit more groove laden and focus more on those cleaner, poppier vocals. So it's a really great balance, great album that I think is just going to grow on me with time because there's so many layers and so many things going on in the mix. That's how I like my albums. I like there to be a lot of layers to uncover as I continue listening. It's like a puzzle that I'm continuously solving and enjoying my experience. And that's what I have with this album. So hopefully you guys will check it out, even if you're a little bit more averse to the heavier style vocals like I mentioned. Maybe there's enough on here that you can forgive it a little bit like I can. So that's my review, and hopefully you guys will go check it out. So thank you guys for joining me in this episode, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the channel for future episodes. So thank you guys, and I'll catch you later. Bye everybody, enjoy the music.